I don't think anyone can say our First Minister has not been doing the day job for the last 7 months. She has been focused on nothing else. She has been asked at press briefings all the time, very political questions to tempt her to get into politics or take a pop at others, and she has declined. She's remained utterly focused. And in Scotland, our test and protect system is actually working really well. They are reaching over 99% of cases and contacts. You know, it would be good to see that across the UK. And that's why actually some people south of the border listen to the First Minister's briefings rather than the disappeared briefings.
OK, you say people have been tempting her. I'm sorry to interrupt there, but, you know, she didn't have to make this big statement earlier in the week about another referendum. That didn't have to be part of her play right now. What about this idea of uniting? What about this idea of uniting the country at this time and putting all those other things to one side?
Well, the thing is, we do face an election next summer, and therefore it has to be very clear to the people of Scotland that the SNP are going for independence, because we can't just sit here not getting any help from, you know, Jamie talks about our two governments. Well, it's his government that are winding up furlough next month that's going to make thousands of people unemployed. It's his Chancellor who, when he announced 30 billion for supposedly relaunching the economy, Scotland gets 21 million of that. Can't do anything with that. So in actual fact, we need to invest to get out of this. The Chancellor is already talking about public sector pay freezes and tax rises. We're looking at another 10 years of Tory austerity. That will not get us out of it. And therefore, Scotland needs the powers to actually borrow, to invest, and to actually restructure our economy. As Mark Blythe said, this is a problem, right? I didn't interrupt you, Jamie, so just let me speak. Mark Blythe pointed out that Scotland, after London and the southeast areas, Scotland is actually got the highest GDP and makes the biggest revenue contribution. But all the other parts of the UK sit there with their tin cup out, waiting for London to give them money. That is not what we're looking for. We want to invest our way forward, and we can't do that with no borrowing powers and no economic powers going forward.
Well, I mean, Jamie, you were trying to get in there, you're making some point, I presume, there about some of the figures. What were you just trying to say so we could hear?
The very obvious point is that Scotland has a £15 billion deficit, and Philippa knows that. Philippa knows that it's the broad shoulders of the UK that have provided the job retention scheme which she's criticising. It's the UK government and the broad shoulders of being a nation of four nations that have been able to introduce business grants, that the Eat Out to Help Out scheme has kept so many restaurants open and kept so many people in.
May I now just bring you both to something else completely, which was raised in our report by Nick Watt, because rather than debating where money has come from, where money is going to, I'm actually quite keen to hear both of your views on this idea of having a deal in place before another potential referendum. What do you make of that idea, Jamie? Because it could be a strategy, from your point of view as a unionist, that would put you in a stronger position before that referendum if it happened.
Well, let me say, we had a referendum in 2014. Scotland voted, and I respect that. It was a once in a generation vote. We have much more important things to be getting on with right now as a country. We are facing...
I know, I'm asking you to confront that potential reality based on what you just heard from Sir John Curtis. Could you at least entertain the idea and tell us your view?
Well, there's not going to be another referendum because, frankly, Scotland needs to move forward in a positive direction. Let's not go back to the bitter divisions of the past that Philippa wants to take us back to. Let's move forward. Let's bring Scotland into the next year in a positive way that brings us out of the current crisis that we're in and focuses on the real priorities of the people of Scotland.
Right, well, Philippa, you might as well pack up and go home. There's not going to be another referendum. You've heard it here. And I wonder what your plan is, because if you're just relying on the will of Boris Johnson to give it to you, it doesn't sound likely.
Well, all of the parties, including Jamie's, signed up to the Smith Commission. And what it said in the Smith Commission is it is agreed that nothing in this report prevents Scotland from becoming an independent country in the future should the people of Scotland so choose. That was after the 2014 referendum, and it was signed by all 5 parties. It's not just Nicola Sturgeon asking for independence. The people of Scotland have voted as a majority for the SNP in the last 6 elections. If it happens again next May, it's 7. And it just simply is not tenable to go on like a bad marriage.
But Philippa, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go to court? Can you just tell us? Is there a strategy if Boris Johnson doesn't do as you want? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm not going to discuss the strategy. Some of that's above my pay grade.
Oh, go on. You can tell us here at Newsnight.
Well, it is above my pay grade. It won't be my decision. But I do think that if he goes on doing that, and particularly if he goes on doing that between the election and whenever the referendum finally comes, he will simply drive support up.